All right, so boys, thanks for jumping on. Like I say, I was about to say the best and the best looking, but you're not you, Bishy, of London Irish at the Madejski over the last over the last 20 years. So we're just going to have a quick whistle tour through our experiences over the years. Like I say, I think between us all, we've seen it all and done it all. So just jump in. It's just a little free chat. If it goes somewhere, like I said, don't worry about it too much. I've got a few key things that I might want to try and get through, but apart from that, like I say, it's just us catching up like we did. So to kick us off, at least, way back to the start. So Dorse, Bish, and maybe GD, looking at you as well. The very first year at the Madejski, the first game, what do you remember? How did it go?
Didn't Thomas Castagna get a full house against us? Like he got a drop goal conversion try and a penalty. Ridiculous. Saracens the first game on it.
Yeah, it was Saracens. We won, but yeah, apparently he had a bit of a stormer.
Yeah, he was ridiculous. I was watching from the bench, so the guys on the field might know a bit more about him. I had you with me.
You playing tennis?
Well, being honest, absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea.
It's gone. The dementia's kicked in.
Do you remember that? I couldn't tell you what my first game, last game. And then
I agree with you, Dawes. I couldn't tell you when our first game was. What year was that, Topsy? I know I was
This was 2001 season.
And we played Sarri's first game up.
Sarri's very first game there.
I might have been on the wrong side of that. Probably just before they sacked me. So.
Yeah, Gazzy.
For Thursday, Dawes.
Sorry?
We had a walkthrough on the Thursday. We all drove out.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, I remember that.
Man, quite a few people got lost.
They got lost.
Oh, yes, everyone got lost.
How can you miss?
I remember that.
How can you miss Madejski?
Did we have a vision session? Didn't we have a vision session when we all had to lie on the ground and close our eyes and just visualize what we were going to do on the day?
No, that was out of Bath. Then we went to Bath. Gary did that. Going to Reading though.
Jimmy Cocker shouted break from the scrum.
Jimmy shouted, yeah.
You had to walk through, and all you could smell was the beer coming off Eddie Helvey.
Yes.
On the Thursday afternoon. I do remember that. That stands
I
out.
remember the walkthrough, but I don't remember the match. That's good.
Saracens at home.
Yeah, Saracens at home this was.
Oh. Maybe Google Hoya can give us some stats.
I do remember the pre-match meal though, and there was a decision in Hats, I think you were part of it, was whether to have a second round of waffles if you're on the bench and just run the gauntlet that you weren't going on in the first half. That's there. Never had anything like it in my life.
What size was Hats on there?
What sorry?
Let's go with the second round or not?
Yeah, he always did. He talked me into it, and that's why I am who I am today. I lay it all at his door.
Listen, pal, I was starting that game. I was sitting on the bench.
Yeah, here we go.
Word to do so.
Remember then, it was only 50 minutes for the front row. You did 50 minutes and then came off, so it was all right.
Yeah, those are the days that we actually had 3 front rows in the actual 23 or 22, just to cover all you blokes.
Yeah. I definitely know Rob went double round. Where's Rob? Why can't we see him? Rob,
I'm struggling to get the video working.
That's probably why we can't see him. He's still going double round.
Click on the camera in the top right-hand corner.
There he is.
Catty, what's happening, mate?
Hey, Callie.
Catty. Are you back
in there, mate? Is that the West Wing?
Yeah, internet doesn't get that far.
You on lockdown in Dublin, Catty?
I can't get the bloody thing in there.
Are you running like that? It looks like you're running like that.
Yeah. Kind of fun battery.
All right, so first game, just about covered. All right, let's fast forward a bit. Now, not exactly a Madejski memory, but obviously 2002 quite a big moment in the club's history. So for those that played, I think that was actually the first ever Irish game I went to watch. I don't know about Dilo Nielsen that when they were trying to put our academy together, but for the boys that played, obviously Jeff, Mikey, Bishy, your standout memories from 2002?
Go Bish. Hardwick's coming. Who is Rob?
Oh my gosh, there he is.
Hello.
Turn the screen off. Turn it off again.
No wonder you wanted the video off.
I went to the same place that Dorso went to, but they did it on the bottom and not the top.
Just turn your computer over.
No, you get it from your bottom and you put it on your top.
You got your head on upside down.
Anyway, more importantly, Topsy, one of my favourite memories of the Madejski is, and all the boys afterwards benefited from this, was a memory of Frankie and Tom. So Tom was about 3, and they were stood in the corridor having a chat with Connor about after-match hospitality that was non-existent for a long, long time. And Tom is kicking Connor in the shins. So all those boys at the Madejski now, and you've got lovely facilities, because I popped down, obviously we popped down and watched a game earlier in the season. And it's wonderful, lovely meal before the game, food afterwards. So that was all down to Tom kicking Connor in the shins.
I don't think he was the only one that kicked Connor in the shins.
All right, Rob, we were just talking about 2002 Power Drink Cup final.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, I think the whole way through that, so we beat, obviously Bath away was a great win. And then Gloucester at home, another great win. But yeah, and then obviously we beat Quins, which was always a special one. And then obviously the final was memorable for me because I didn't even touch the ball, I don't think, once. Actual Bishop did something that he hadn't done for about 8 years and scored a couple of tries.
I'm going to jump in there and defend Bishy, to be honest. We weren't doing a hell of a lot of passing at that stage. We're doing a lot of kicking. Rob, same as you, Rob, that the cup final day was just an amazing day, obviously, and we played it extraordinarily well. But for me, it was the semi-final as well against Quins. It was just a horrible day. We managed to pull ourselves through. It was all that big thing about getting to the final, and to win that game and just set ourselves up for the final was just an amazing feat to get that far. But obviously, changing tactics on that going into that final game. Was Brendan obviously came up with the idea we're going to try and run a lot more ball and try and score tries, and it worked.
Also, do you remember on the way to the stadium, we got stuck in that huge traffic jam, and Brendan came to the back of the bus, and we were joking around and laughing all the way, and I think we arrived at the stadium so relaxed and ready to go. Hey? There was no pressure on us. No one expected us to win.
Problem with that logjam was there's my missus and Steve Williams' missus trying to get in, and they blocked the road. And so we ended up walking in from the gate, which was a real mess. And I tell you, Brendan looked at me and goes, "Yes, this is not good."
I just remember Mike Pountney and Matt Dawson at half time. I knew we had it won, because they were just going at each other like I've never seen anything go at each other before. And it was like having a row with misses coming off the pitch. And you just knew that was it.
We watched that. Obviously, the boys have started watching, taking a bit more interest and just say, "Dad, you were rubbish," which is fair enough. But we watched the cup final, and I just went to the bit on YouTube where Brendan smashes Matt Dawson head, and Tom's got that on his video. He just loves it. He said it's just the best thing he's ever seen.
It's just a tackle. It's a tackle. It was just a tackle.
What was your sighting officer opinion of that, Rob?
Oh, mate, I'd let that go every day.
one of the unique things as well, I would say, Topsy, is it's quite rare you get to a final and such a big setting and such a big stadium. But you have the game won with 20 minutes to go, and you know it, and you can actually enjoy every minute of the end of the game because you know you're absolutely out of sight. It's quite rare to have that in an ordinary game, but to have it in a final and to be able to soak it in on the field, quite exceptional experience actually.
Maybe a year later, the relegation shootout with Bristol. Ooh. Who played in that game?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah.
Actually,
Talk
first
to me,
game
Bob.
I ever saw
What do you
on
remember?
Norris.
Thanks for bringing me in on the happy points, Topsy.
Wow.
If you start that one, Flav.
We all have our strengths.
Yeah. I think there might have been a correlation there between the winning and me playing. I don't know.
But actually, Tops, that game was just like Barry said. It was another one that we didn't have too many, but we had it won, with 20 minutes to go, half an hour, and it was such a relief just playing and knowing we've done it.
Didn't we almost have it lost after 10?
I was going to say, yeah.
They started off so badly and they were pumping us in the beginning.
It was 8-0, wasn't it? Do you remember we got a penalty just in front of the poles on about the 22? And it was I think it was 8-3 or 10 or 10-0.
Wasn't the other one the Tuesday before, the week before when we played Bath and we had that one and then Elvis scored at the beginning of the last
kickoff.
But then we had to remember we went to Leicester and beat them the second last game of the season and they hadn't lost at home for about 2.5 seasons.
Flav, that's when you gave yourself the man of the match.
The only self-proclaimed man of the match in world rugby, I gave it to myself. I was like, no, I had a stormer that day. I'm taking it.
Ben Callagher, Rob Hoadley were unbelievable that day. Put Flav on the bus on the way home, gave himself man of the match.
Taking it.
I think it was Rob Hoadley. Kendo, Rob Hoadley turned the game at Bristol. We had a penalty, was 10-0, and we all turned around because we thought Barry was going to kick it. And Rob Hoadley took a quick tap, went through about 4 blokes, scored, and did a lap kissing the badge.
Yeah, I played in that game. I played in that game for Bristol.
Yeah.
I remember because P Shop and Felipe were playing, and they, I think that sort of momentum in the game, and Felipe came off going, I don't want to play anymore. The referee hates me. So then Shane Drum went on. And then I was 18, and then P Shot goes, "Oh, we've lost the game at half time." And I was like, "Is this what professional rugby is all about?" And I got on with about 10 minutes to go, and I went to pick up the ball out the ruck, and Sheesby jumped over and slapped it down and went
the sack.
Yeah, exactly. And he said something like, "Welcome to the big time."
It's got to be true.
Yeah, I said, I don't think I want this life, actually.
The maiden even made it to the game because traffic on the M25 was absolutely crazy that day.
Dodgy.
The papery throat as well. So,
Did you boys put up your bus at a pub just up the road on the way home? I'm sure I've got a memory of driving home and you driving past a Bristol bus and it was parked up outside.
Yeah. Because I think, and then you could tell at that point, like the ones that had everything. Like I remember, I think it was Lee Best or somebody literally had 2 or 3 phones on the go trying to sort out his next career move. And I think, out of the whole squad, everyone left. Bar, I remember like Saul Nelson and me. But I remember that on the way home because it was. You talk about sort of different makeups of teams. There was a lot of. I don't know if you would agree, but there were quite a lot of high caliber or well-known players in that team. But it wasn't much. It wasn't much of one.
Guys, if I remember rightly, was that where we had Jared pre-match and the big team talk?
Yeah,
that was pretty special.
Yeah.
Can you remember what Jared said in that team talk?
I just remember from my view that Gigi put a video on, and then just Jared spoke, and though he wasn't, he wasn't in great shape. I know, obviously, some of the boys here were very, very close. I remember one afternoon looking after Jared with Tom and the boys, and they were feeding him wine gum. He was so, so ravaged by it. And I just remember that for some of us, we were I was in tears. And I think maybe that's why we were probably down in the first few minutes, because the emotion was sort of something for us. And there were guys there that probably didn't know Jared at all. And I'm thinking, look at some of these, what's the matter with these guys? But for me, that was inspirational. That was the big push for that game.
Who else was there? Anyone else? Bob, you remember that one? Were you there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I'm just remember. I'm not great at remembering like Dorso. I remember the pressure going into the game was a different kind of pressure to the final. But and they were like Dodge, you were right. That was a star-studded team, probably better on paper than we were. But we blew them away in the end. But I don't remember too much about beforehand. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Just picking brains. Okay, quick fast forward. 2003. So Nils, Dilo, Pacey, coming at you. What do you remember of this lot from when we first started?
I remember she's asking you to rub moisturiser onto his back teeth.
That didn't happen.
I remember Lala chasing me out showers, thinking there was a snake in there. I don't know if this should all be on record, but those
Another story of that with Dylan is I invited him to my school to speak, to be there to give out the prizes.
Why?
Well, because he was cheap. He ends up, and he was really good, but then he starts telling this story how I pinned him against the wall because he's in my changing space. I've emptied all his clothes into the shower, and and I'm like, oh my God, in front of 1,000 kids, parents. And I'm like, Jesus.
Going back to that was like, for me, when we moved up from the academy, we were allowed into the first team change room. So obviously, we had two sides, and you almost wanted to choose right. I remember going into, as you come in the change room to the right, we're all like the younger. There was like obviously Niels, Declan, all the boys, Flav, all the Irish boys, the fun change room, as you would say.
And then basically I'm still young. Yeah.
Hanging on like that to the peg, little fish, not going anywhere. So they sent me in the other one, and when I got into the other one, everyone had kind of gone out to training already. So I put my bag down by an empty spot. I think it was probably next to Rob's, and come back from training after doing my skills extras as I do, looking for my bag. I was like, where's my bag? Like, and everyone's giggling and walking around. I was like, where's my bag? And I was like, oh, funny, obviously New Academy. Walked in the shower, and it was like, opened up, all my clothes was like on the wet shower, and I'm thinking, nah, this is what I'm leaving. West Con, I'm leaving straight away. I didn't want to be there anymore.
I think I was in your ear there, Dylan, as well, just saying, do something, Dylan. Stand up for yourself, mate. Hey, my first memory in 2003, training sessions. Flav's doing a line-out session. Flav's next to me, throwing perfect balls. I come in.
Let me stop you there.
Bob takes one.
I was waiting for that.
It's an instant flaw in this story, Pacey.
I hit Bob square in the balls, and he just flings it back to me. Ball hits me in the point of the nose, and then first training session as a 18-year-old, I was looking at flights back to Australia the very night.
I think your throwing really improved, Dave.
That was the making of you, buddy. That was the making.
Pacey, do you remember your debut?
I do, in Northampton. I think off the bench, I think Flav pulled a calf, I think, with 10 minutes to go. And he gave me 10 minutes, and we beat Northampton in Northampton. I think Barry
got a last-minute penalty goal to win it.
Standard.
We were
Good start.
losing until you came on. That's what I heard there.
I think that was length of the field, 60 length of the field try.
It was joining from the academy was actually a pretty awesome experience. Like watching these guys who you had perceived to be sort of, I don't know, not going to let you into that group too easily. You actually all sort of took us in quite nicely. Actually, I think Dilo, you probably had a little bit more more attitude to break down in order to get into the group. But once you were in, you're probably in. I think I remember the first court session that you were running, and I remember that it was just like basically serve the drinks, drink what you get told to drink, and you'll have a great time. If you kick off, you can kick the shit, you know. But it was awesome that first season to come in and you guys actually help us out, and it was actually far easier than we were perceived to before when we were on the outside and stuff.
Yeah, and Topsy, just on that, obviously, I'm the same age as Nils and Dylan.
No.
We've been through the academy together.
Just one quick one. I remember. Wait.
I'll never.
No, we played a 21s game where we had to get a letter signed for you. 21. And you were like 26.
We were in school together, we were the same age. Anyway, so I'd signed on £5,000 and I ended up playing a bit because there was literally 7 injuries. And then Hats and Lala went and spoke to the office about getting me some more money because I was playing. Lala gave me a load of England kit, his old England kit.
That wasn't his. That was
grateful for those boys for looking after me like that.
Yeah. I'll have some of that money back now then, Kendo.
I remember actually one training session, Dilo, you know, I normally don't build you up here, but I remember the first training session I saw Dylan actually play amongst the backs and that, and he just hit a line out of nowhere and he just literally carved us right up, and I just going, wow, you know, that's amazing. And I think it might be you had to turn around and say, wow, he's unbelievable. And you turn around and said, skinny boy, don't worry, we'll break him.
Was that Fishy he carved up?
He did. That was the one good line he hit probably that season, but
I think that went very well until it went very well until he set fire to see William after that.
This is not about me, Flav. This is London Majeski Stadium.
But he did it more than once. He did it about 3 times in that session, if you remember. We got in a group and somebody said the next time he gets through, somebody get hold of him and belt him. But he did it about 3 times. I think once or twice on your channel.
Most people did.
What's that?
It was amazing that you were the second line of defence. So when he cut the line, he just ran into you. What the hell you were doing there? No one knows.
He was meant to kick out, not to tackle.
You said it. Look at Doso. Doso's my man there. That's why he has no shoulders left.
Okay, I lied. Doso, I was reading your, your Where Are They interview for the program, talking about Epitone.
It's one of those 35 seconds of matches that I do actually remember. Yeah, basically, have I told you that one, Bishy, where Epitone terrible under the kickoff, so we'll kick it on him. Thinking, really sure that's yeah. He goes, yeah, it's all right. He's in your channel, so you get him in the middle. Bishy come in from the wing, and Rob Hoadley, you get him from the centre. So it's a 3-man attack. We'll definitely get him. We're standing. Baz is about to kick off, and he drops the ball, and it's pissing a hurricane. Every time he drops the ball, just in the mud. Did it again in the mud. And I said, Baz, please don't shank this. Please don't shank it. So Baz has a little chuckle. His little shoulders go. Shanked it straight along the ground. Epitone. He picked it up. 25-meter run straight as I'm running in the middle. Bishy starts slowing, disappearing. Those two just look up. Boom, straight over the top of me. 60, 70 meters down the pitch, eventually stopped. Last thing I remember. I'll be sleeping with my arm in the air. In the pouring rain. Cheers, Baz.
My doors.
Straight out of the playbook, Coach Klein.
Yeah. All I could think of as I was coming round, smelling the coffee, all I could think was Baz's little chuckle.
You broke my nose about 12 months later, actually, in Twickenham. We're playing Quins, and I actually went to try and make
I threw him the ball and said, run a Baz.
You got your own back.
Baz, remember the calls were like Brandy D or Brandy B or Brandy C, and your nose was like this, and we were going, Baz, what's the call? And you were going, Brandy D. And you were like, no, this. Like 50,000 people can hear a word you were saying. It was like, get on with it.
Exactly, Jake. Do you guys remember Newcastle? Remember Gary Gold putting on the radio in Newcastle? We're going out. It was another relegation battle we had, final game of the season, and I think we had to get a point out of it. Yeah, we had to win, and we had to get a bonus point or something like that. And I'll never forget the pressure of that one as well. But he played the what's the name of the movie?
Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday.
Yes.
And he played that as we were walking out, and we were going, woof. You know, if there wasn't pressure on, there's pressure on us now. That's for sure. Type of motivation going into that game, but yeah, that was.
Were we not stood on the pitch at the end waiting to hear what the other results were?
Yeah,
we
didn't
get a bonus point there, but Quins actually lost that game, eh?
Yeah.
It was a shame.
Is that where Tofty did his elbow as well? Is that the same game?
Oh, do you remember that change room after?
Yeah. They left him like half an hour, didn't they, to try and put it back in again? And he was howling when he in the I walked in the change room and walked straight back out again because I've never heard anything like it.
Yeah. He was down in the showers, wasn't he? And they were trying to put it back in. I think it was Tell.
Of course. Jeez. Mikey Horak, talk to us. Tell us your fondest memories of the Madejski.
No, there was a good few, every weekend going to the Majeski and having fun with my mates. Like, I mean, that's the one thing that I remember of the team, or that we'd obviously from 2002 to, from even 2001 to 2004, we were just such a bunch of mates, and it was actually awesome week in, week out playing with your friends and having fun,
I think like most of you guys here, I don't remember the individual games too well. I think far too many knocks to the head. But I think the memories at Majeski were always the St. Paddy's Day games. I think those ones stick with me the best. I think I couldn't tell you who we played against, to be honest. But I remember the atmosphere, and do they still call it the cowshed? That little bar, the bar underneath the stadium was like the highlight of the day for all of us. You know, you'd do your corporate duties, have a few pints of Guinness, and then head down to the shed and listen to the band and have a few more Guinness. And I still claim to my kids today that I'm in the Guinness Book of Records for drinking the most Guinness in one day, and I was part of that. I don't know if that thing still stands, or if it's been broken since, but that's my claim to fame for being in the Guinness Book of Records, even if it was only 2 or 3 pints in the day.
Well, I've got the first official Paddy's game, March 2001. We beat Northampton 13-10. Anyone remember it?
As I say, I couldn't remember any of who we played against in any of those games. I've got one of those jerseys when we had a pint of Guinness on the back, and at half time we changed the Guinness. It was half a pint, and then the full game, then it was a full pint.
That's still my favourite shirt.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. I kept a few of those. So those memories stick, but I couldn't tell you who we played or whether we won or lost. I think we won most of those games. I can't really remember losing a game on St. Paddy's Day. It was always a big occasion. I think we might have lost to Quins, actually, in one of those games.
I think we lost to Quins on one of them.
Yeah. But those were really fun memories.
The big ones for me were the Heineken Cup. Like, we actually had a pretty good record. We pretty much had a sellout, and we put 27 on Munster. and that was them in their pomp. I think they might have been the champions at that stage. We hammered Ulster at home. We beat Perpignan when they were at the height of their powers.
Ospreys.
What's that?
Ospreys full strength. Beat
Yeah,
Ospreys.
yeah. Well, that's when they were full of Welsh internationals and Tia.
We beat Toulouse when they won it that year.
Yeah,
I know they came across with a probably not a full strength size as the French team.
Full strength, so full strength.
I think it was full strength, but after about 15 minutes, well, it was less. It was after the first 5 minutes. I think the two of their front row went off with broken noses. I think there was a couple of forearms flying around. Couldn't tell you who it was, but there were definitely forearms going everywhere. Two of them did come off after 5 minutes. It turned the game, and I do remember that in Madejski actually, the Toulouse game quite well. I think Rob, you were good mates with the scrum half, weren't you? And some of them wouldn't swap jerseys at the end of the match.
To be fair, you've got the squads. We didn't have the biggest squads, did we? Really, until I don't know, after the mid 2000s. And you look at Toulouse back then; they had 35 internationals or whatever. So you're playing. The weird thing is that we beat Toulouse, yet we're in a relegation battle. Work that one out in the season.
And to be fair, Rob, we should have beaten Toulouse away. Remember, that was the game when Brendan got carded and it.
Yeah.
Vincent Clark scored 3 tries or something.
We should have beaten Edinburgh. The temperature dropped about 45 degrees, and Saki was freezing on the wing, and we lost.
I remember that. Yeah. Didn't we have Barry Stagg do after the Edinburgh game?
Yeah, we
did.
Right. Yeah, we're recording this. Let's.
Going back to Scotland's point about not remembering much about the game.
You remember moments from the game? There was I think that back line against Ospreys. There was like Maps, Elvis, Lossie, you, Dilo, and they scored a try just in front of the bench. Have you ever seen? If you go to South Africa, you see the con artists with those little 3 cups with one ball and they hide the ball. And Maps, Elvis, and those guys put just in front of the bench that we scored a try. Where I remember sitting on the bench and everyone was looking. It was like one of those where it was like offload out the back. The next moment, Lossie was heading under the poles. It was just one of those tries where you just thought, where is it? Looking for the ball.
I was just going to say, Lossie must have ended up with it because he never passed it. So
ridiculous offload from Maps out of a tackle. You can see it now to Elvis almost over his shoulder, to Lossie cut a line and headed out under the poles. And you even on the bench, the blokes on the bench almost stood up and clapped.
Yeah, Hats totally agree with you. Maps, when you arrived, you were like completely different dynamic. I thought you were playing in the front row first of all when this massive unit coming through. I'm going, we're sorted. We're going to drive them off the ball every game, scrum sort. But remember in the first couple of training sessions, and then the first couple of games, I was just going, wow, we're going to play in a completely different format, and I don't know what your experience, Maps, was when even coming into the group and playing in Madejski, but it was a big mindset change for us as well when you arrived.
Oh, it was awesome, Liz. I think arriving at the club and hearing, I think I really enjoyed the stories that I'd heard from my good mate Ricky Flutie. He's telling me quite a bit about the club, and I turn up and just I walked into a real tight knit group, and I absolutely loved it. That how everyone was really tight off the field, and my first impression at training was were they giving some high school students some like work experience. I was wondering why this 12-year-old fly half was standing next to me. Again, I don't remember a lot of games, but I do remember moments spent with the lads, and I think that's the thing that sticks up for me the most. But I do remember walking to the club and just thinking it was such an awesome atmosphere that was created at the club that I just really wanted to be a part of it.
So I'll jump in there quick. Maps, playing with occasionally when I did playing with Ricky at 10 every now and then, you at 13, Solossi on the one wing, Dilo and Topsy. I was like, you guys used to call plays just with your eyebrows. And I'd be like, it's just not to pass me the ball. It's like, just like look at each other. Like, oh, yeah. Like, what's the ball going, man? Just tell me. I'll hit the first drop.
Just run a dummy line. Just run a dummy line.
Is, man, I need to know.
Go long.
Manels, you're the glue, right? You held it all together. I'm not doing this move. We're doing
Because I know when Catty played and Baz was playing, you told them the moves, man.
Catty, do you remember when Brian Smith, I think it was, first arrived, and we changed the way that we were playing. We're going to play a lot more expansive. We're going to play a lot deeper, loads of passing, nothing that I could possibly do. But you had arrived at the club and we're playing, I think our first game was in Twickenham. And I always remember the crispness of the passing, and we scored. I think, Bishy, you scored a couple of tries. I don't know what was going on right out on the left-hand side, but it was the skill level completely. It's amazing when you've been at a club a couple of years and you just see different coaches come in with different ethoses, with different players then adding their skill set, and how the game completely. One season you're playing one way, you may well be successful or not, and then all of a sudden you're going a completely different direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the first times when I turned up, Gary Gold was coach, and he asked me to do what Brendan would do as an 85 kilogram centre. He said, "Don't pass the ball, just carry." I said, "Mate, these chicken legs are not going anywhere near contact. Not one of my strengths." And we started playing a bit wider. And then Smithy turned up, like you said, Baz. And I think the best thing was that 3-pod game. We played in those 3 pods. I think one of the biggest reasons that worked so well for us was the fitness of a 9. So Hodgie, I remember, mate, you guys had to run from one side to the other side to the other side. And it was just relentless. But then the offloading ability and the skill of some of the guys was incredible. I mean, all the forwards just parked up. I remember Hats just parking up in the midfield, and he just sort of carved a groove up and down the pitch, just straight.
I remember that.
Parked the bus, that's for sure.
Yeah. But, it was amazing, incredible rugby. I mean, also for me, personally, I was 32 years old, 33 years old, and I never thought I'd play that sort of way again. So for us to go and play like we did, and then have the success we had on the back of it, was flipping brilliant. This is what the game was all about, It was awesome.
Catty, any moments in particular that stand out, or?
Yeah, they're two moments. I mean, first one is, I don't know if you remember, we were playing Wasps, and again, I think Maps probably breaks through the middle, something offloads to Juan Leguizamon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when he's bolting along?
I was going to mention this one.
He dives, and as he dives over the line to score the try, that he loses the ball. It was just like...
That was Paddy's Day game, mate.
That was one of them. And thankfully, we went on and won it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we went on and won it. And then the other time was, I think we were playing Newcastle at Madejski. And this is where I thought I sort of found out what thuggery meant. But not thuggery from the opposition, from your own teammates. So I've carried a ball about 5 meters from the try line, on their line. And I've gone face down. So I've done a sort of like a squeeze ball, but I've got my one eye's face onto the ground. So I can't see out of that eye. Next thing is, I just get this flipping massive big boot, slap, bang, in the other eye. And now I'm thinking, because one eye's covered by the ground, this eye's now closed over. I think I'm blind, so I start squealing, I'm blind. And I look up, and there's Hats over the top of me going, "Oh, sorry, Kay, sorry." I just came in and booted me.
I was really going to hope you said it was Rob. I was really
I thought we were mates, Hats.
If it's any consolation, mate, I wasn't aiming for you.
I know. No, but great times, mate. Amazing times.
That's good. Decky D, what about you? You've been there longer than most of us.
Yeah, look, it's a great place to play. But I think the best thing about it, even just the stories we've talked about. You knew you had a group of people who you could rely on through thick and thin. And I think part of that was the experiences we've been through, but just a really, really good bunch of blokes who just enjoyed playing with each other. And that was the most exciting thing. He got to the weekend and you know, we got to go out there and we got to play together and we got to create some amazing experiences and have some fun along the way. Whether that was going to Europe or you know, and I think the best thing about it, we could always laugh at ourselves. We could always take the piss out of each other, and we could always have fun. And I think, yeah, it's just even chatting through some stuff there. It's pretty amazing. I think the young lads, I think Niels and Dylan and Pacey and those boys coming in, it just created more energy for us. You know, training and things like that. You know, those boys turned up and they weren't going to take a backward step. You know, from minute one, and I can remember scrapping with D'Lo on the training pitch, and Moley turning up behind him saying, "I'll have you."
Hit him.
I think everyone has that memory of scrapping with D'Lo Dex.
Yeah. Well, look, it was competitive. It was brilliant, but it's just even stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying you don't get stuff like that anymore, but it's just a slightly different dynamic now. And like I said, we didn't take ourselves too seriously. We enjoyed each other's company, and we had a hell of a time on the field, and we got to do that. I think the best thing about it, we got to do that at an unbelievable stadium. I think the style we played, we probably wouldn't have been able to do that at another stadium, but because it was a football pitch, because it was pristine, we knew that the boys could come up, and you know, Neil said it there, like a lot of stuff, you know, even talking about the way we played, it was just they just looked at each other and they go, well, I'm going to do this and you're just going to sort of play off me. And I think we learned a lot from that, because obviously we'd, you know, potentially come from, you know, you played a certain way, but you know, Maps turned up and it was just like, just play what's in front of you. And there's, you know, we didn't have too many calls. I think, you know, guys like Catty and Barry, you know, sort of running the ship, you know, you trusted them, and everyone sort of played their part. So look, it's good just even just talking about it there just brings back some good memories.
Do you remember? Sorry, go on, Nat.
Sorry. I just want to back Dix up on this. Sorry, Uncle. You know, when I first come over to Irish from Super Rugby, a lot of the questions I got interviewed on was, you know, what's the difference? What's the difference between Super Rugby and Premiership or Heineken Cup? And every time I was like, this, I actually didn't find a hell of a lot different. And a big part of that was the stadium we got to play in and the style of rugby we played. So, you know, I found it quite an easy transition, and the fact that everyone was a family to me. You know, I mean, when I first turned up, I hear stories about guys like Dorse and Flavs and Rob, and hearing about these characters, and then finally getting to meet them, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. 100% right, Bushy. You definitely were the best out of everyone. But yeah, you're right. Like, the stadium played a big part in the way we played, and I think that, like Mikey Horek said, we're just having fun with your mates.
Hats, you were going to say?
On the other side of that, in the Majeski, when I came back, I think we played when I was with Connacht. I experienced the other side of it, which didn't work out too well. In the Madejski, I think it was 72-5 or something like that. But you boys were absolutely... Stop smiling, Pacey. What are you laughing at? But you boys were on fire. Like, you went through that phase. It was literally untouchable. We couldn't get anywhere near you boys. And it was good to...
Bob, Flo.
Say that again?
You were still throwing the lineouts to Bob.
We're actually better without the ball that day. You have it, lad. Boys, just to back that up from probably ironically the outside looking in, you were different level, and it was great to see that achievements happening from the outside, as it were. So even though that was a particularly bad day for me, I was captain that day as well, which
And still got man of the match. It was
No one's mentioned the other side of the ball. I've got Madejski memories. One of the ones that sticks out for me is Chrissy Halafia folding up Joe Marler. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen. I mean, the guy was like, if you had one bloke that in training you wanted to make sure you was on his team, that was like, you know, albeit he never did in training what he did on the field. I can remember playing against when he was still at Quins, and just knowing that he was a threat, and to make sure you had your wits about you all the time. So when he came over to us, he was a brilliant weapon for us.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was people who used to live in fear of, like, you know, getting a loopy old Barry Everett pass. And
they were by design. They were by design. If I didn't like you, were getting one of those.
And knowing Chrissy Halafia was
Richie, does anyone remember when Gary Johnson
yeah, threw the bag in? That is probably the only time. That's probably the only time Chrissy really went off at training, I think. And I literally thought someone was already carving Gary's gravestone, I think, at that time. Someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone managed to get hold of Chrissy and just say,
I was actually on the sideline. I was on the sideline watching, and I've seen Chris take off with it. So I was chasing up, and Chrissy, no.
We had one of those situations, Glenn, didn't we? Where you jumped in and saved Jeb Sinclair's life, where Chrissy went after him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and then he lost the plot and tried to drag Tell out of the van.
It was a lovely play. I forgot about that bit, but there was a pick and go drill in regard, and Chrissy's just gone straight through Jeb, and I've given it a bit of a char-hoo. That's what we're about. And he comes back and blocks it. I go, oh, that's a bit different. And something had happened half an hour earlier, where Jeb had just raised the temperature a bit, as he normally tended to do, being a Canadian. And so Chrissy had knocked him, and then he goes, "Oh, we full on." And he come back, and it was like, "Oh no, this is not going well at all." So the only thing I could do was sort of lean the melon in and try and sort of use it as a block. Fortunately, I had Matt Garvey there, who was filling a massive void. It was like an eclipse of the sun. Actually, he was that big. But then Chrissy went off, and I think Terry got pulled out the front of the van on his way out.
Yeah, because Chrissy banged the van, and you can tell Terry with a cigar hanging out of his mouth going, "What the was that?"
The analysis boys had videoed it, and I was like, "Nah, delete that. Just get rid of it. No one needs to see that. The story's better than the video."
Everyone was probably on Shane Garrity. That ball looked tear to the eye when he folded Shane Garrity in half at Meridian as well. That was really
funny. Bob, do you remember your last game?
Oh yes, Davy Pace going at it with Jim Hamilton. It was actually a brilliant game of rugby. We absolutely hammered a pretty decent Gloucester team. Like put 40 on them, played unbelievable rugby. And then a big fight broke out, and I had all the Ginger Army, all my nieces and nephews on the front row, and I was like, "Do not get sin binned here. Don't let their last memory." So I let Dave take the fall for that one.
Very good. That's the one. People at my office. That's one of the most requested videos. That is of have you got any videos when you played? It's like, oh, watch this one. And, on the one when we were wandering off. I think Kieran Lowe was on the water, wasn't he? Even he had to get involved and
Bish
on the way off. Bishy, yeah.
Trev, I got caught up in it. I remember it, and Pacey started swinging, and I was like that.
How wrong was
you got in a few lucky punches. That's all it was.
Ryan still had the water.
He had the reach. He had the reach.
Trying to break it up.
It was your last game as well, wasn't it, D'Lo?
Yeah, it was mine. I think Nick as well.
And me.
Dodge, I think there's quite a few of us were leaving. Richie, there's a few boys. That was our last game. And I remember it was quite emotional because we're all in the change room. We got to take out. I got to take out the kids and that at the front and that. And I remember almost thinking, I think that was the first time. Because all the memories come back, all the stuff you guys talked about. When you first joined from the academy, from training with Nicky Burrows, with Jeff, you know, all those boys doing stuff. And it was just, when you're in academy, you watch them train, they were always smiling. You know, the Maples, all the backline, you know, the Hoadleys, they were always joking around. Even the forwards you look across with Hertz, Lala, you know, there was always something funny going on. Even when the coaches were fighting each other in the middle, it was, you know what I mean? It's like watching EastEnders almost sometimes, our sessions, or some shape. And like I was saying, walking down on the Madejski Stadium was that was the first time I kind of regretted my decision. And like, I felt like, you know, why am I leaving this? What am I, do you know, because I didn't know. I was going into the unknown to Toulon, and I had to start that.
Cash was your reason.
Behind your eyes as you left with all the notes like this. It feels terrible.
The Toulon of a private jet jumping into the lamp.
We all know why you were leaving. You were dropping your mates for the money.
Yeah. Remember that time my bag was in the shower? What was I thinking? Jesus.
You're building up to leaving for about 5 years. Remember, every year you come into
I'm leaving.
He was leaving the first year I arrived.
Yeah. Where are you going? Somewhere.
I think that was the first time I decided to leave, is when we used to play Red Hearts, didn't we, before the session?
Just going to say that, yeah.
And I remember that everyone had to smash me in the bum with the ball. And I was late to the backs training because of it with Brendan. And they'd already started going through the plays, and I turned up and I didn't know the play, and then they ran it, and Hodes and Ordino and stuff. What are you doing? And I'm like, I've just got it. Shut up. And I couldn't talk. And I was like, I walked off the field, and they were all like laughing. I think all the boys, and I thought, I'm leaving. And Brendan had come down, and I'd like, I'm not gonna say, because I know Topsy's recording what I said to him, but I was leaving. That's it. I'm leaving. I'm not staying. And they were all still like, I could look on the film, Mape stuff, and they're all giggling like at me, like, and I'm like in tears, like behind the shed crying with Connor. And it's like, get back out there. And I'm no, I'm leaving.
There was a time when I think the coach, I can remember like the coaches trying to start training, they'd be like, no, like, so we're not finished, like 5 minutes. We've got to get this game finished. We're down to AS.
We've nearly got Barry. Leave
yeah.
He's on red A. Leave it. Kirk, kick the warm up.
I remember a very heated game. Very, very heated game. I'd actually had cortisone injections into my hamstrings. I was coming back from the hospital, and Bob, it was a change. You remember, you were in there. And there was poor guy. He broke him. And I've never seen him actually. You know, good friends with Bob. But I saw the red mist coming. He's going, it's coming for me. And even though I wasn't meant to be running or anything like that, even when the red mist came and I hobbled, I still managed to get away from him. It was quite an emotional day for you, Bob.
Does anyone remember the court session when we split up into our countries? So we had it. The South Africans did a barbecue in the change room that caught fire. Insane.
And the English boys had a beach party.
Yeah.
They had a Caribbean beach party.
Serious professionals.
But do you remember why Bob was going for you, Barry, in the changing room that day? Remember we lost Red Hearts?
There's a load of reasons it could have been.
So he sat in the corner, and he's like, where the changing room went, he had his hands like that, waiting for it.